Okay. Hi, I'm Veronica, and this is Lori Dovey, and we channel MIRICRIS. And MIRICRIS really wants to talk to all of you about in an impromptu way about what's going on out there and who's corralling whom. And we're going to ask a lot of questions. So I hope you're going to tune in with us. Hi, Lori.
Wow, everybody. Hi, what a complete shit show.
It really
Absolutely. I mean, we knew it was going to be bad, right? But how bad? This is pretty bad. Having somebody who wasn't even appointed by Congress into the US Treasury building stealing data. Apparently, Wired Magazine is doing a great job at reporting on this. And they just put out an update. And apparently, because I've been wondering, where is Elon? Have they finished the coup? I mean, have they moved on to another building? But apparently, federal employees are now seeking a temporary restraining order as part of a class action lawsuit accusing a group of Elon Musk's associates of allegedly operating an illegally connected server from the 5th floor of the US Office of Personnel Management. That's OPM. That's the headquarters of Elon. So now they're over there. They got what they wanted. Now they're disseminating probably the data, the information.
And I want to add another thing, which is I'm quite fascinated by the fact that Elon is doing ketamines. And I know a little bit from my own clients that that does a lot of your thinking in a way. And he is obviously, to me, either ADD or just brilliantly Asperger's or something. He already is there. So I'm going, hold it, going with Trump. This is pretty interesting combination. So let's see if we can get from MIRICRIS some of the data, the harder facts.
Sure. He is a self-professed person with Ausberger's. So that's for real. He's an avid ketamine smoker. He's an avid pot smoker. And I suspect he's doing other drugs as well. And I think he's mentally unstable, but let's get into it.
But Lori, how could you not be? So let's channel MIRICRIS and see what he thinks of it all, or they think of it all. Clear the space around you. If you're watching us prepare for this, clear the space around you. We want you to be able to hear and feel the presence of MIRICRIS as they take us by the etheric hands for a little while. We are here. We are happy to be here with you, have been, we would say, nagging at this one that we can come through and speak with you all about. This is a huge challenge on your planet, but we assure you it is a challenge that you will meet. Well, having said that, you have to meet it. You can't just look at it and pretend that it's all going to be fine. You have to meet it. And how do you meet it? We're saying to you, most of you can feel us when we come through. We're saying to you, breathe, bring your light through your body, mind, and send it out there. Keep sending your light out there. If you can see specific people who you need to support or strengthen, because a lot of the people in position are feeling very, very weakened and afraid and so on. We're saying bring through a stronger energy and send it to any of the beings that are working in the departments and trying to keep things strong when it's really shattering. You can do a great deal. We assure you that you can do a huge amount of effect on the atmosphere all around this subject. It's not just at the government buildings, not just that, but that's a great place to start. Because one of the things that's going to happen if you allow yourselves, and we say it, do it over and over again, bring it through and send that energy to various figures in this system over and over again, you're building You're building the power of the energy. You notice it, you'll feel it in your body. Build that power, build that power. And let's have Lori ask some more specific directional questions.
Okay. Hi, MIRICRIS. Yeah, this is, God, we've been through so much, we've been through COVID, and then I can't remember all the stuff we've been through as a society. It's been insane since about,
But Lori, you know it's going
excuse
to get
me,
more.
yeah, since about 2008, it has been really, really heightened. And okay, let's turn to Elon, the criminal Elon Musk, involved in this takeover of our government and our data, our private data. So let me ask MIRICRIS, because I'm quite angry about all this, and I don't feel disenfranchised. Actually, I feel quite the opposite, and that's why I'm happy we're speaking with you right now. But in the security coup that Elon and these six hackers between the age of 19 and 26 have done.
Victims know that.
Yep. What have they actually obtained?
They have obtained some records. There's an inconsistency among them, and they have obtained some records of people that work in specific departments. They're not all working in the same department. You understand that?
Yeah.
What they're wanting to obtain are the private personal numbers in order to empower in order to empower those in charge of the government who are Republican. They're not just Republican, they're working against the system totally. You know this. And so they're
When you
bringing
say
in numbers from all levels of whether it's people's social security or whether
wow.
it's what your options are in various sections of the government. Understand that? And the more numbers they get, the more they can control people's work, the more they can get rid of people, the more they can debilitate their monthly incomes and so on. You know all this, prevent social service or prevent medical coverage. You understand that. And they want it to reduce the cost of running the government.
Such idiots, man. There's a way to do this really logically. There's a way to do this within the confines of the government structure. And then there's a way a dictator would do it. So let me ask you, the numbers that they've gotten, are these numbers yours and mine? Or are these numbers from particular people that they're going after?
No, it's generally they're getting huge realms of the numbers from various groups of people, probably by age group, socioeconomic status, that kind of thing.
And what are they going to do with this information? Are they going to sell it out on the international market?
Yes, two things. One is they can trade, because apparently there's quite a trade for essential numbers out there on the international market. It's kind of like a black market.
Wow.
The other thing, well, not kind of like, it is a black market. You understand that? And we can also, we already said this, that the amount of money it costs to support humanity in any country, they can weaken that. They can weaken it so that it costs much less. They can get people off of this role and that role and another role. And they also can inflict, we're not quite clear on this, where it comes to medical coverage, they can inflict on medical coverage the right to have that. They can really block it. So people will find it very confusing as to why their services are reduced in such a radical way. So it saves the government, in quotes, the government money, but it hurts a great number of people. And both of you realize that they don't care if people don't live. You understand that?
Oh God, yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. So is there going to be a revolution?
Yes.
And will it be violent?
Oh, yes. Um,
Yep.
we don't like to leave it at that. So what we'll say is that the violence, you know that violence begets violence. And remember the January 6th debacle? It's a little bit like that, only it's much more intrinsic in the society. And so, and the violence will come up and literally stop. It appears at this time it will stop some of these people in their tracks, because some of the ways that they're undoing the flow of commerce running through the government is also going to stop up their abilities to keep going. So they do
Right.
not know it enough to understand that what they're doing could shoot them in the foot. Do you understand that?
Literally.
But the tangle is going to be terrible. So you could, one wonderful way to look at it is it's a revolutionary, but the tangle is what you want them to be in, because they can't figure out their way. You understand that? So
I
that in
understand.
itself is enough of
I
a stopgap, is it not?
Right. I do understand this is a revolutionary country. We are in the second American Revolution per Linda Sherman, amazing political astrologer that we've had on the show with you, Veronica. And the thing that's so frustrating, I think, in people's hearts and minds right now is it's complete takeover, but nobody is stopping them. And uh, there
One moment,
are
Larry, will say to you something interesting, which is Mr. Musk does not have the mental acuity at this time, and we've explained why, to follow through his plans, you see? And Mr. Trump never quite does he?
no, they're bozos
Mhm.
completely.
But Mr. Musk is more, um, we would call two things. We would call it distress, but call it, if you want to talk about his drugs or whatever, we want to say that his brain is tangled at this point. So even though he's a brilliant man, he's not going to behave in a brilliant fashion over this next period of time. He'll seem more like
Right.
kind of lost, or really,
Okay.
she'll be difficult because he's enraged a lot.
Yep. And well, we're enraged. And what I want to
You're not
say
as
is,
powerful he is. I hate to tell you that.
but let me let me well, I don't know if I believe that.
Exactly. I was going to say I retract that partially because
That's a test. You tested me. It's like
if you could keep your focus and the energy drives coming from your intentions and your all of you who are listening to this, build your body energy up, build it up in these beautiful, beautiful whirling lights, and send it out there, you will offset, you'll confuse even more than he is now. You will confuse both Mr. Musk and Mr. Trump. But on the other hand, you'll also confuse some of their helpers or their assistant people. And some
right.
of those are very fragile and doing what they're told because they're very young and all that. And we're saying if you can, everyone listening to this, if you can build your lights and build your lights and use whatever form you want, but build your lights, keep sending or driving, we put it this way, your light toward these people or toward where the action is in your government, you will confuse them and you will disperse some of the venomous activities they're trying to get done. If you could see it close up, you could see it like the Three Stooges or something of that ilk. You understand?
Mhm. Mhm. And I know it's MIRICRIS, I know it's on a lot of people's minds right now, which is why isn't anybody doing anything?
Overwhelm.
Well, what would they do? For instance, Congress cannot control the military. They can't tell the military to come and take care of this. They can't tell the police to come and take care of this. Um, they have to go through the judicial courts. they have to go through the judicial branch, which they're now doing with trying to file injunctions, restraining orders on Elon and Trump. Will they be successful?
Well, in a certain way, yes. But if the energy, if you keep focusing in and get people focusing in, you're going to find, excuse me, I'm sorry. You're going to find that they cannot maintain their goals and their directions. See, it's subterfuge.
Exactly. So where does this action, do you see a series of events that are going to now start to happen, MIRICRIS, as a result of this?
I'm so sorry. I have to keep coughing.
That's okay.
One moment.
The cat get your tongue?
Doing a good job with it. I'll tell you what. Okay. I'll collect my wits. And MIRICRIS is laughing. They're laughing. They're teasing me.
I'm sure.
All right. So could you repeat the question?
So I think our viewers would be comforted to know that what will happen now? What are some of the major bullet points that are going to happen as a result of this takeover?
What seems to happen now is far-reaching, meaning it's as if the entire area of activity is circled from out a little farther. It's circled from other people or by other people who want the same thing you do. They want to stop this, and they are in several other countries, and they are circling the whole event. Your biggest goal is to keep sending out messages. You'll notice that the response comes immediately, and you'll wonder, you'll say, are we magical or what? Yes, you're magical. Send messages out to anybody that you think is going to pay attention, because they indeed will turn it on toward others who are very interested in stopping this incredible takeover, this incredible deception of people.
Right. So for instance, my aunt, who's a Canadian citizen, as you are, V, has just said, there she is, has just said that Canada has terminated 100 million Canadian dollars worth of contracts with Elon Musk.
Great, woohoo!
And this is what I want to know. Are there other countries who are going to follow suit?
Exactly. And some of them would surprise you, because there are people all around the world who are very, very frightened, not only frightened, but very angry about this takeover. And somehow the voices rattling in the woods are connecting beautifully. You're going to hear from people all over the world, not just Canada. Canada is very important, but you'll hear it from Mexico, Venezuela, South America, and several places. You'll hear it from India, and there are a number of places that people are going to be paying attention to. Europe as well.
Where in Europe? Can you see?
Germany particularly. They're very, very anxious. Even the Czech Republic, even those places that are maybe somebody you wouldn't even be thinking about, but they're and France. And England. But it's when the word starts traveling, and it will almost immediately. When the word starts traveling, you're going to see people responding from all over, and that pleases you. It may not be millions of people responding from all over, but you'll see it like a chain gang working around the world and nudging each other and paying attention. Taiwan is one as well, and Cambodia. It's very interesting, and there will be quite a bit of linking up. And actually, this one loves the image of the tourniquet. We're saying that there is a hand holding and a pulling the noose tighter and tighter from all of these beings. You understand? There's an affinity, there's a respect, and there's a common goal. What we don't realize in America is there is a common goal for people to live a freer life and to evolve into, we can call it a democratic construction, but unfortunately, the word democracy has been distorted radically. But that concept, the more pure version of democracy, is in the heart and mind of people all over this world. Do you realize that?
Now, it's funny because in a way, through all this chaos and catastrophe, it is changing the world order. It is reshuffling things.
It
And like,
is.
and like you say, coming together from all these, now these countries that you're speaking about, are they the ones who are going after freezing assets of Elon's?
Some, not all. It's more like what's happening is around the world, there's this connection happening, and the freezing of his assets is a specific area, you see? But it doesn't stop the spreading of this incredible piece of gossip, you see? Doesn't
Right.
stop that. And one thing we will remind you again is people all over the world are aching for the kind of freedom that America purported to have. And so it's more like that is the word that's out there. It's being defeated by nefarious activity, and people are saying, no, we're not letting that happen. And they will surprise you. The places they're coming from will surprise you. They're not coming here. They're tuning in is a better way to put it. Do you understand that?
Right. Now,
And
these
Elon
six,
will be stopped. Whatever they're doing right now, they're going to stop him.
quick, and how much time do you think,
We
MIRICRIS?
see him out of commission by April, if
It's a
not early.
long time. The speed at
Exactly.
which they're moving is, that's a long time. What happens to him?
We feel that he comes, what would we call it? This one calls it comes undone because of how she sees, but it's like he can't function anymore in his mind and maybe in his physical, but it's more like his psyche.
Right.
He loses himself. Now, he partly does that in March, but that's only part of it. By April, it appears that he is, we're not saying blithering, but we're saying that he can't hold his mental images very well at all.
Is he going to face prison?
Yes. He may be released from that because he will be unwell.
Oh, there's a lot of mentally ill people in prison, you know? Will he ever go back to South Africa?
No, not really.
Okay. Okay. But will he lose his fortune?
Yes.
Excellent.
He's
Sorry,
not
I'm so
intrinsically a
angry.
bad man, but when a person is out of control like that, they're a bad man. Do you see?
Yeah, exactly. Who goes down first, Trump or Elon?
Trump.
So that's coming even sooner.
Yes, yes. But you know, and you've heard people say this, that he is trying to get as much done as possible because he knows he may not make it for very long.
Can you get a sense of his departure?
It appears that it's in his gastrointestinal area and his heart.
Uh-huh.
The two places, they're not simultaneous. They're in concert, one with the other. But
And
like Elon, he seems to go down in a state of erratic emotion.
okay. And how soon? If he's before Elon?
Yeah, we're seeing here
Like
in
this-
February. We've
Oh,
spoken quite a long time that February will be a very difficult and a weakening month for him.
well, we're in February, huh?
And maybe he'll live through it. However, his ability to maintain his dictatorial approach will weaken and weaken and weaken. So if he makes it into March, we'll see he's not a blithering fool. However, he has deteriorated to such a degree that people thought he was crazy before. He's crazier now. Do you see?
So is he taken out by impeachment? Is he taken out by assassination? Or does he just die?
By sicknesses, variety of
Oh,
sicknesses, and also, in one moment, um, the impeachment does yes, it's also impeachment, but he becomes very
oh,
ill during that process.
okay. But what do we have right behind this, MIRICRIS? We have somebody named JD Vance. And it has been said on more than one occasion that Trump was just a puppet. The ultimate goal was to get JD Vance in power. I don't know.
Well, it's
But
very
what would,
interesting to us because we have said this before, which is that he will not become anything. So, assuming that people are right about that, that he is going to become something, he's very, what would we say? In many ways, he seems facile and elegant and so on, but he's very egregious and kind of piggish, you know? Like he holds his
yeah,
position and he does not get peripheral vision or understanding and so on. And he does appear to have his own big problems and doesn't get very far in his hard drive to accomplish. He has a hard drive to accomplish a leadership role. But we've always said we don't see him getting there. We don't see him doing it.
wow.
Now you understand that in this kind of work that we're doing, it's never simply one way. There are many factors
No.
that can come in, but we're not
Yeah,
particularly worried about him right now.
okay. Um, and the we're
Somebody's going
also
to be poisoned soon as well.
wow.
Mhm.
I was
Well, you have
wondering
to
about that.
understand something, Lori, which we already know you do understand, is that people are angry, mistrusting, very afraid of him. Not just JD Vance, but Trump and even Elon. They're afraid of when you get that many people who are afraid of the dominance, the dictatorial attitudes that are suppressing their own joie de vivre or whatever. You understand people hate them.
Exactly.
Mhm. And so there's a lot of hatred. Trump himself is loaded with hatred. You know that.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
so whoever has a lot of hatred is going to attract a lot of hatred. Am I right?
Yeah.
And with
You
Jay
know,
Vance, we just don't see him um, getting very far at all.
wow. Or even being around, if I'm not
And not even
mistaken.
being around, but also he doesn't have you noticed, doesn't have much finesse.
No, he's just
For
he's
him to succeed, he would have to have very eloquent and elegant finesse. And he doesn't have any of that,
right.
which means he'll trip over himself a great deal and create
Uh,
problems. Now, Mr. Trump also trips over himself, but he has enough swagger and enough charisma to push his way through. But JD Vance does not. He's more
let me,
delicate.
yeah. Let me get back to the 6 hackers that are working with Elon Musk. Husk.
Husking with.
Oh, Husk. 6 hackers working with Husk.
Mhm.
They're young men. Wired
Mhm.
magazine has done a very good job, like I said, at reporting on this. They actually exposed who the hackers were.
Oh, good.
And Elon's pissed off, saying that's illegal. And what's going to
Meaning
happen to
him.
these? What's going to happen to these hackers?
Unfortunately, they are being, we would call scapegoated. They're naive and they bought into a fantasy and a dream. And neither of them, maybe two, but mostly they do not have the intestinal buildup to carry the whole imagery into some sort of success. They're all kind of being marked as a toss away.
Right.
Oh,
What
get him
happens
out
to
of the room.
them?
He's just young anyway. Get him out of the room. And it's very sad actually, because they were all very vulnerable because of stars in their eyes or something of that ilk. And also a certain amount of, two of them anyway, had a certain amount of disdain for authority that was really poisoned. You understand that? So they're really very,
Will they
in many,
serve?
innocent,
Wow.
but they'll be
Sorry,
treated
they're adult.
guilty. You know that they'll be treated with guilt.
So they will serve time in prison.
Oh yes. And there's very little respect for people who play that role in a government coup, we'll call it coup. There's
Yes,
very little respect for them. So
absolutely.
we could pray, you could pray for them a lot and give them the advantage of working their waking up through, even though they're in prison. They can wake up and become more conscious of who they are and what they've done. Understand that?
Yes, maybe after they're in prison.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sorry, I'm being very brutal tonight because I'm very angry and I think I'm tapping into the collective consciousness quite a bit today. And
You're really strong, Lori.
well, it's important. And by the way, it's very important we call Republican Congress people, senators and House representatives on the Republican side, telling them to knock it off, telling them that this is illegal, and voice your concern. All you do is have to call them and you leave a message. That's it. And
That's
saying
a
that,
really good message to put out there. And if any listeners to that do that, please.
yes, and it doesn't matter. It's Republican people within your state, and you can call every day. It's really, really important to rile them up, right, MIRICRIS, to make them feel like, oh my God, public sentiment is growing against us.
And the feeling also, what we're saying here is that for people to call from their own state has a bit more, we're not saying don't call nationally, but call from your own state as well, because the opportunity to be heard is better when it's your own small state. You understand?
Exactly.
But also,
And
there's going to be so many calls that you're going to be excited that you were in on it.
yeah, I mean, I called yesterday to uh, two of the California senators, and their voicemails were full. And then I sent off an email.
So it is a good idea that the voicemails are full. That's very good to hear, isn't it? In a way.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So let me ask you, what happens to this new Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, who was appointed by Trump after Elon pushed the other Treasury
But he only
Secretary?
lasted a short while, did he not?
Who?
Basent?
He's in there now. Maybe you're seeing him go.
I don't see him lasting at all.
Yeah, he was appointed by Trump
You know what's
after
very
Elon.
interesting, Lori, is some time and light move around in our visions and so on. But what we're seeing with him is the comprehension, the waking up and the comprehension of what he's in the middle of. Maybe too much for him.
Okay, so maybe he'll resign.
Yes, or he's going to get pushed out, one or the other. Both
Yeah,
cases, for him to leave is better for him,
yes.
you know?
And another question, Miracris, because we're trying to figure out remedies for the Democrats, because we need to buoy up the Democrats because they have to be our fighting force. And right now they've gotten involved in the chaos like we have. This is the first time this has happened. So, and I'm sure it brings up PTSD for a lot of them when
What
the
you want to
insurrection.
do, Lori, is give compliments, step forward, give compliments so that they're built up, because they're timid, they're afraid, and they're not exactly the most aggressive group of people in the world. You know that? So what do you do
But
to wind up somebody's aggression?
one of the things that's on the table right now is for them to shut the government down because of the chaos. Do you think Chuck Schumer will lead that?
No, but one moment. Something is coming from that, which is some kind of discussions that become very vital. So it may not lead to shutting the government down, but it may lead to so much response inside of its hallowed hall that it's not necessary to shut it down anymore. Something's happening. It's going to change the whole outcome anyway. But people, whether or not they're going to shut the government down, people have to become strong. So that's what you want to do, is build their strength, bolster them, tell everybody to get on your horse and ride, because they need that kind of chutzpah. Do you understand what we're saying? They're in
Yes.
a coma. They seem like they're in a coma.
Well, can you imagine? I think they're suffering also from PTSD from the January 6th insurrection.
Oh, you
I
bet.
mean, this is really hardcore. So when people are rough on them, I'm not sure, you have to have a little bit more compassion to what they faced on January 6th. Most of
Mhm.
them were running for their lives into
Well,
this.
we're saying to you that compassion is really important, but also to recognize their innate courage, you see,
Yes.
because they need to
And
feel like I have it. I'm not just, I'm a wimp because I'm scared of it all. And, a lot of them don't want to
yeah,
get hurt or hurt people.
yeah, yeah. But will they rise up, Miracris? Will they become a strong force?
Yes. Mhm. They're
They
getting there.
will.
They need cheerleading. We kind of overestimate that. We can't overestimate that.
Okay. And the DNC, the Democratic National Committee, just elected Ken Martin as their new chair leader.
Mhm.
What do you sense about him?
He's pretty good. He's quite elegant in a way. Inner he's got more inner strength of character, and he does think of many more options than many of them. So he's a very smart man. He's probably chosen for that. Our question of him is, does he have that kind of internal spark that will continue taking action?
Mhm.
Like Hakeem Jeffries doesn't. I know he's not in the
Doesn't.
same position, but he does not move forward very swiftly.
No.
Neither did Merrick
Mhm.
Garland or all these various people in position. This fellow has more of that, but he needs to be encouraged to move forward with his ideas. The Dems
And
need so much encouragement right now. That's one of the things we could say to you. Use that every time you think of them.
yeah. And they need to, I know they're suffering from this defeat,
Mm-hmm.
but I also don't know how many of them actually realize that they weren't defeated. This was a play. This was a voter fraud suppression play. And will,
Um, that's a really interesting comment, because it's back to compliments, back to
uh-huh,
building people up.
okay.
people have to talk about that. You know, people have to speak up about those things, because when people go into kind of a trance because of loss or sadness or grief or whatever, even self-esteem being too high, I mean, you know, when they go into that kind of a trance, they don't think fast. You have to understand this. No, they try to think in a balanced way and so on and so forth. They need to get feisty, you know,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
that's what's going to make the biggest difference.
And
They
also with,
react to what's going on, and we know that being taught to react is a rare thing, but you need to react. Go ahead.
and now, okay, so let's fast forward a little bit. It looks like we don't have to go too far. With Trump gone and Elon gone, how do things, I just don't see under this Pluto transit us going back to normal. I think the whole construct of this, MIRICRIS, if I'm correct, is that we needed a shakedown.
We did. Mhm. And when you say go back to normal, we chuckle and go, that would be useless.
Yeah,
Because the reason it got this way is because of a kind of a weak, it wasn't all weak, but there's a style of running this which keeps everybody pulsing near the start line. And you don't
right,
want to run it like that. You want decisions made more quickly. You want people to go for integrity. You want those things to be recognized. There was a lot of slime undercurrent stuff going on,
yeah, yeah,
and you're not going to tolerate it.
yeah. I mean, when you're looking down into the futures, can you even see what the structure of the government is?
We're laughing, saying we don't look down into the future. We look up into the future. We see that there are much of the government is going to be separated differently. It's not going to run with all the same patterns, but you're going to
Right,
see a certain amount of newness in how it's described, and people having the advantage of the newness is to give them that exciting startup kind of feeling. So that's
right,
going to be a whole different ambiance, is that the right word? A whole different pulse in the government. And you'll see it emerging step by step, bit by bit. That would probably be like, oh, it won't be till after the dissemblements that we've spoken of, and we cannot assure you of the time and dates of the dissemblements. Do you see that?
right, right,
Mhm.
right, right.
But we say to you, just remind yourself to speak up, which you're very good at. Speak up, step forward. Don't whine in the background and complain about bureaucracies and that sort of thing. You don't have time for that. Because America has the option. A part of the problem is the climate, but America has the option of stepping across some fires, if you will, and really making changes happen. Really making changes happen as a revolutionary group would do. You see, and
Right,
that doesn't mean with guns and murders and all those things. The murders happen anyway, but they're not quite as illustrious as the old books. But we're
right,
seeing there's a vitality coming up. Now, it might take a year and a half to get some of that going. You understand that? But you women, particularly, are going to be so pleased, because you're going to stand
wow,
strong and be treated with a certain dynamic that you haven't before. And
mm,
so America has a chance of tossing off the cloak of what history and moving
mm,
into the world with a different kind of elan. You know, it's very good.
wow,
And there are several people going to try to step up into position, and there's going to be a total intolerance for anything that looks like it's going to be another charlatan, egomaniacal doodah. You understand?
wow.
People are
So
not.
we will have learned our lesson.
Yes, the thing about that, you'll notice that's the most exciting part is the impatience. When stuff like that comes up, people will be going, been there, done that.
Done that. We're done. We're over that. Now, let
And
me ask you, Mary Chris, will the U.S. Repurpose repurpose their constitution.
Yes. Now
It
that
needs
won't be
it.
till fall.
It's quite fast, actually.
But the reality is it has to, we're going back into climate. Okay. The reality is that things have to be fast because of
Yes.
changes that are coming up. But there's going to be quite a vitality in reconstituting the Constitution.
Wow. So this fascist period we're in right now, does it last very long?
No, and the reason we have already intimated this a few minutes ago, which is that that the all over the world there's a desire for a certain kind of we're calling it democracy, a certain kind of looking after one another and taking advantage of getting over wars and all of that. There's this big desire. It's all over the world. And not every country is going to come to that. But that desire is going to rise up and help you Americans fulfill more of the dreams there. It may not happen in 1 year, or 2 years, or 3 years, but you're going to see it coming through bit by bit. It's as if the whole world is changing its its pulse, its ambiance, and you know that the astrological life is bidding some of that as well.
Right. All right, MIRICRIS.
We're laughing here and saying to you, and some people are going to be much taller.
Yeah, I was kind of, I've always wondered about that, that we're going to keep growing as a species, I think. Right?
We thought you would enjoy that. And some
Yeah.
people are going to be tall, Lori.
I know. I can see it. I've always seen that we're going to keep growing up, 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 up.
But we thank you
So,
for the opportunity of speaking like this. And yes, we'll be watching.
all right. Thank you. And I really hope we've provided some hope for our viewers. And remember, call the Republicans, call your
All the
representative.
Republicans, yes.
You really have to. And also, we spin them. We've been doing this meditation. I'd like to just share it for a moment, where we take, for instance, Donald and Elon. And what's really interesting as we spin them in high frequency, and I mean love and high frequency, they absolutely disintegrate. Neither of them can handle, it appears, neither of them can handle the frequency of love. And we've done this, as hard as it is sometimes, we've done it with purity, and we've seen them just pulverize to dust in the spinning in a high frequency with them together. So that's my visualization, and I'd like to share it with you.
And the reminder is, and I'll add another part of it, which is mine, which is not mine, it's just a different way of seeing. And in it is that as we move through these changes, make sure, and you're saying this, but I'm just emphasizing it, make sure that you send the love into their spirit selves to make sure that the karma has been melted, or the hatred, or whatever it is. Don't even think about it. Whatever, you can't stand that person that's reiterating that, give them the chance to reach out of it. And
yeah, because they're going to come back again. and
exactly.
yeah.
But not only that, Lori, you've put it in a different way, which is that when you do that for other people, it affects you and you shift a lot of your own. And you want that. I want everything I do for others to come back in, hopefully in a good way, to come back into me. And so we're emphasizing that because you want this evolution of the species, which is going on. You want the evolution of the species to be thorough, don't you? And the other thing we keep saying to you, we need you to have fun while you do some things. And the reason for that is the alacrity that can move through the species. and connect
Yeah.
more with the ETs and the beings that want to join you.
All right. All right. Thank you so much,
Thank
MIRICRIS.
you
It
for
was really
working.
helpful. All right.
Much
Thank
love.
Much love.